So, as I said, in Science of Mind, we have a little bit of a different belief system. You know, the man that came to be known as Jesus is a powerful, powerful figure throughout our world, especially in the Christian world. But he's also known in all of the three Abrahamic religions, the Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Jesus is a powerful figure in all three. In Judaism, he is known as a rabbi, one of the teachers, one of the great teachers of the beliefs of the philosophy that is practiced throughout the Old Testament. And of course, in Christianity, he became known as the Messiah, the long prophesied deliverer of the people. And in Islam, he is known as the 24th prophet. In Islam, there are 25 prophets. They run from Abraham to Muhammad. Muhammad being the last prophet is called the seal of the prophets. And so Jesus is valued as an example of how to live in conscious connection with Spirit, to understand the Spirit. What I love about our philosophy is that it allowed me to, when I was growing up, I couldn't get around this whole idea of there's only this one man that I'm supposed to worship, and there was this whole thing about it, and it just like, it didn't fit with me. I couldn't think, how can this be a regular human and yet be divine? It didn't work for me. But when I came here and I understood more of how each one of us is that Christ consciousness. Each one of us has it within us to be the same thing that Jesus was, that master teacher. Each one of us is brought here to be a living example of the divine right here on earth. You know, our founder, Ernest Holmes, has an entire chapter in the Science of Mind textbook called Finding the Christ. And it's just a little book. I have this on a slide, actually. So this is what he says about what the Christ is. Christ is that ideal, universal, that entire creation, both visible and invisible. There is one Father of all, one Creator of all. Conceiving of itself, gives birth to divine ideas. And the sum total of all of these ideas constitutes the mystic Christ. There is one Creator, one power, one presence, and it manifests itself in, through, and as all creation. And that each one of us is that living embodiment of that divine Creator, brought forth to be Spirit here in action, brought forth to be, a spiritual being having a human experience. That each one of us has within us that potential to be that. And as we become more conscious of it, become more aware of the Spirit operating within us, then we are naturally drawn to let that out, to let that light shine even more. As our affirmation said this morning, and Kelly did so beautifully in her meditation, there is a divine energy that is in each one of us. It's in all of creation. An opportunity is always to find a way to tap into it and allow it to express through us more and more. This man, Jesus, he understood who he was, and he understood his relationship with that divine Creator. Now, he called the Creator in his language Abba, which means Father. That was the way he understood it because he believed that he came from it. Therefore, it must have been the Father of him. Further on in the chapter, Ernest says this: Jesus understood his own nature. He knew that the human embodies the divine. It manifests the Christ nature. Jesus never thought of himself as different from others. And his whole teaching was that what he did, others could do too. In fact, in the book of John, it's written very much like that. Whatever I can do, you can do, and even greater. Jesus never thought of himself as the exception. But he was totally, perfectly agreeable to being the example, to being the one who demonstrated how to live in conscious union with Spirit, to how to develop a belief that is so strong and so unshakable that it can create miracles. His belief was so strong that he could stand at the mouth of a cave and say to a dead man, "Come on out." And the dead man did. He believed that he could stand next to a crippled man by a river and say, "Get up and walk." And because his belief was so strong and he was so sure of it, it radiated out from him and connected with the people that he was addressing, and they believed too. What a wonderful example of how to live in conscious union with God, how to live connected to that presence that is so palpable and so powerful that it actually performs miracles, what we call miracles in our world. I think Jesus was the ultimate spiritual but not religious person. He wasn't really thrilled with some of the things that were going on in the religion of the day. In fact, he went into the temples and just kind of knocked things over for a while because he didn't agree with it. But he knew his spiritual connection. He knew that he was totally connected with Spirit. Ernest says this in the chapter 22. Jesus located God in the kingdom of heaven within himself. He had plunged beneath the material surface of creation and found its spiritual cause. This cause he called God, or the Father. He was able to see the material world and understand that divine energy that's flowing through everything. He was able to see the light coming through everything into creation and bringing that forth as an example of who he was. He was able to tap into something that many of us have only caught a glimpse of. I know that as we go deeper in our spiritual practices, that view of the divine, that connection with the divine, is expanded and accentuated. And the more and more we practice, the more we take the time to be still and know, as Jesus would have said. To take the time in meditation and contemplation, doing our spiritual practices that bring us into the realization of that Christ consciousness that's always within us. Can you imagine what a world would be if all of us could tap into it to the level that Jesus did? To me, it is the most empowering idea that I can do what this wonderful man did so many years ago, and that so many others have done since him and before him. Ernest goes on to say that we must believe that the Christ indwells our own lives and stimulates all of our actions, for without it we can do nothing. To realize within oneself a divine presence, a perfect person, is to recognize the Christ. And for me, that's what this season is about. It is about finding that Christ in the person I'm sitting across from. It's about finding that Christ within myself. It's about experiencing that Christ when I connect with loved ones. It's about hearing music that touches our soul and sparks something, a long-remembered something that is hidden deep within us, that gets triggered by the wonderful music we hear at this time of year. It's about coming together in a community like this and greeting each other, seeing the wonderful Christmas outfits that we are wearing, where we are so filled with joy and so sparked. It's about seeing the Clauses sitting up here and knowing what wonderful things await the children in our world tonight. It's about rejoicing in all that is good, all that is bright, and all that is always available to us. I think that is one of the most powerful things about our philosophy here at Center for Spiritual Living, is that we know it's possible. There may be things right now that are blocking it, But we know that through our work, our spiritual mind treatment, our prayer, our meditation, our contemplation, our acts of service and generosity, that things are possible in our lives, that things will change for us in a way that we could not necessarily predict it. Because it's always available to us. At every moment in our lives, it is possible for us to activate that Christ within us and allow it to show forth, allow it to be who we are right here and right now. What a glorious adventure we're on to create more of that Christ-like nature in our world. You know, here at Center for Spiritual Living, we are all about the experience. We are about the experience of the Christ, the experience of conscious connection with each other. And we do that through all kinds of different activities and different ways of being. For those of you that were here with us last Thursday night, we did a winter solstice labyrinth walk, our first labyrinth walk. We had 62 people. Over half of them were brand new. It was an amazing experience to be here. We're going to be creating lots and lots of experiences like that, where we can tap in to that hidden something, that wholeness that resides right at the heart of our being, that we've allowed layer upon layer of worldly stuff to cover up. All of these spiritual practices we do allow us to peel it away, to see that inner light, to be that place that lights up others in our world. You know, in this chapter 22, Ernest Holmes, I was really surprised because it's the first chapter I've seen with this much in it, but it's like almost every other page is a poem in there that he wrote. And so I was reading one of the poems a couple of days ago, and I thought, wow, this would be fun to do together. And so in an old-fashioned kind of call and response, we're going to do one of Ernest's poems. It's called Holy, Holy, Holy. And so I've broken it up. My part's the green part. Your part's the red part. So I'll say the green part, and you respond back the red part. Remember doing these kind of things for call and response, right? Okay. This is Holy, Holy, Holy. Inner presence. Great and mighty. Inner light. That shines divinely. Inner life. That lives completely. Inner joy. That smiles serenely. Inner peace. That flows so deeply. Inner calm. Untroubled, happy. Inner love. That gives so freely. Inner truth. That never fails me. Inner power. Whoops. Sorry about that. There we go, inner power. That holds securely. My thumb's too big for the arrows. Inner eye. That sees so clearly. Inner ear. That hears so always. Inner voice. That speaks supremely. Inner good. That binds me to thee. Holy, holy, holy. Spirit Christ within me. That is our true nature. Everything that we have just repeated out loud is who we are. We are held in the arms of the divine at all times. The place on which we stand is holy ground, for that presence is there. And we bring it with us wherever we go, wherever we show up. We bring the presence of love, of grace, of peace, of beauty. It is our gift, given to us freely. And it is our gift that we are free to share. And what a wonderful world we create when we share this gift of love, of peace, of joy. Not just at this season of the year, but throughout the entire year. As I said, we are creating experiences here where we can share that joy, where we can find that love that is deep within us and let it burst forth free. And what a wonderful world we are creating when we do this together. So we're going to go into prayer now. This is our spiritual mind treatment. It's our form of affirmative prayer. I'm going to invite our licensed practitioners to stand, surround us, holding the consciousness of the divine with us right here and right now. In the first stage of our prayer, we recognize that one presence. And then we unify ourselves with it, because if God is all that, then I've got to be that too. In the third stage, we state spiritual truth. And then we give thanks and we let it go. And so if you would with me, turn within. I do this by closing my eyes and taking a breath. Connecting into my heart center. That place where I feel the presence. That place from which I know it emanates. And so right here and right now, in this present moment, I know that there is only one. One amazing creative power. One divine love intelligence. One source of all. And though it goes by many names and shows up in many incarnations, I simply know it as Spirit, God, the One. And because I know that there is only one, I know that I am one with it. That I stand on holy ground. And that presence is emanating itself through me, as me, right here and right now. I know that I am filled with that creative love intelligence, and that it's bursting forth from me in all that I am and all that I do. And because I know this is true for me, I know it is true for everyone. That each one of us is that perfect, unique incarnation of the divine, brought here to be Spirit in action, perfectly and uniquely, just as we are. And so knowing this truth, I speak my word. I know that each one of us is on a path of unfoldment, that the presence of the Christ within us is shining itself through us perfectly and uniquely. I know that when we realize that presence, then it bursts forth even greater ways than were possible before, because it is an energy that is unstoppable. It is a presence that is palpable, and it is a love that blankets all. And I just give great thanks for knowing this. I'm so grateful to feel it, to see it in action, to know what is happening in the lives of this community. And I release this word into that law, to that creative mind that knows no limitation, that always says yes, that is unfolding itself continuously right here and right now. I let it go and I let it be. And if you would, affirm this with me by saying, and so it is. Amen.